Welcome, Husker fans. Thank you for tuning into Big Red Radio, the Husker Talk Show. I am your host, Caleb Jenneret. Next to me is my co-host, Zach Jenneret. Zach, how are you doing today?
Doing good, doing good. Hoping to catch a little bit of the game this weekend. It'll be interesting to see if I'm able to. We head up to Stevens Point, Wisconsin to wrestle this week. So we'll see. I'm sure I can find a little bit of time to catch some of the game. But if not, I do plan on going back and digging deep into it as if I did watch the game.
Perfect. Perfect. So social shout out before we get into it. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Follow all those to keep up to date with what we're doing over here on Big Red Radio, including the Coaches Power Rankings that you guys seem to always enjoy. So before we get into the Minnesota preview, I'm sure you saw the thumbnail by now. There was some rumors. There were some rumors going out on Thursday, and I don't think, let me know what you think, but I don't believe any of it. I think it's a fake report. You saw the post with sources tell me Mickey Joseph is officially the Nebraska head coach. That's just not true. They're setting themselves up so they can be like, if Mickey does become the head coach, they can be like, oh, we were on this first. And if it doesn't come out, it's not some journalist account that is going to get flamed for not getting it right. It's just like a troll account. It's not, I wouldn't say it's a troll account, but it's not anything reputable. And then there's also stuff that came out about like Matt Rule on some message boards. And when you're talking about like, I don't know for sure what the wording was. I'm just saying this, but like, if you're saying my brother's friend's nephew's coworker's best friend knows this, and you're like, okay, like, what are you even talking about? Like, this is nothing. So, no, I don't believe any of the rumors. I don't think we'll know who the next head coach is unless if Mickey Joseph beats Michigan, then maybe the day after the game, Mickey Joseph's tag is pulled. The only time that I see a head coach being announced is the week of or the day after the Iowa game. It doesn't make sense to name Mickey the head coach right now. He could go out and lose the next, how many games are left? Next four games. And now you look stupid because you just hired the guy that just completely washed the season, which I don't think necessarily is going to happen. I'm just saying
No.
it doesn't make a lot of sense to hire a guy right now. They could already have a guy in mind if Mickey doesn't work out, but I don't think he would be announced at this point either. So I don't believe any of these rumors. I don't take any of it seriously. I think it's just all rumors. And rumors is all it really is, in my opinion.
Yeah, the only coach that would be announced right now, I guess, is Mickey. So if you're announcing a coach right now, your favorite is Mickey Joseph, right?
Mhm.
That's the front runner, and I think Trev has already stated that that's not his front runner, and I think Mickey already knows that he's not the front runner here right now. Um, Other than that, I guess the only other one would be Matt Rule, but I also don't see him being announced right now because that really creates a kind of a divide on the Nebraska team unless Matt Rule just steps in. Because you know this guy's not going to be your head coach. It makes it 10 times harder for Mickey to go recruit because all those guys recruiting are like, well, why would I come play for you when you're not even going to be my coach next year? But, and, it just makes it harder. The only person I see him announcing right now is Mickey, and I don't see him announcing Mickey after a loss. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I would say I think it's gonna be after the Iowa game. I don't see it being before the Iowa game.
Mhm.
If we make a bowl, I think it'll be after the bowl game.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I mean, we saw last year a lot of teams did make a bowl and then they announced that they were hiring somebody else or that current coach was leaving, like Lincoln Riley. Lincoln
well,
Riley
yeah, but
announced
I
he was
think I think
leaving
that's a
because
different.
you got to get ahead. You got to get ahead of the early signing day, which is before the bowl games. So,
No, I understand that, but I think that's a little different. The leaving part because Lincoln Riley didn't really care if Oklahoma won or lost that bowl.
Sure, but I
To
also think
be
like
honest with you,
the guys we're looking at, it's either Mickey or somebody that already has a job. And hopefully we're not hiring somebody that's not going to a bowl game.
uh, that's true. That's true. I guess that's true.
Like, let's say Dave
But
Aranda
okay,
is the guy.
say
Baylor's going to make a bowl game, and if he wants to get ahead of early signing day, he's got to leave before the for the bowl game.
but if we make a bowl game, right, and say it's Dave Aranda, Lane Kiffin, one of those guys, do they step in for that bowl game? I don't think so,
No,
right?
no, it'll still be Mickey,
I
unless
just feel like that might,
unless Mickey leaves for another job.
which he won't, but I feel like that might make it hard for the players. It doesn't matter at this
I
point,
mean,
really.
if you think about it, how much does a bowl game really matter to a 6-6 team?
That's true.
Like, it's not like they're
To
playing for a
Nebraska,
playoff or
Nebraska, a lot.
sure.
It
No,
really
it would
would.
mean a lot to the fans, but in the like bigger aspect of it, I mean, it doesn't really matter. Like making the bowl game's cool, but like making a bowl game is important. I would say making the bowl game is more important than the final score of the bowl game, honestly.
That's true. That's fair.
So yeah, that's what we think about those rumors. Don't take anything from them. That's just my advice.
No.
And fully expect if Mickey does get hired, whoever, I think it was like Husker Takes or something like that, who posted it, is going to be like, I was on this. Like, I knew this already. It's like they didn't know anything. They're making a guess and just doesn't make a lot of sense. But getting in now to the Minnesota preview. So, starting it off, why we should be excited. I'll start off with my first one. There's a chance Casey Thompson plays. I came into this week not thinking Casey Thompson was playing. Mickey Joseph said he's probably not going to play Saturday. And then he comes out in his presser this morning and he says, yeah, he's going to be a game time decision. We don't really know. So I like our chances a lot more if Casey plays. I'll just say that. And if Casey plays, I'm going to be excited for sure. I'm also going to be excited if he doesn't, but I'm going to be more excited if he does.
Yeah, for my first one, this somehow, some way, we actually have a better pass rush than Minnesota. Um, and so I will go out and say they are the sixth passing defense in the country as far as yards per game go. But I don't care who your secondary is. If you get guys like Trey Palmer, Alante Brown, Marcus Washington, Vokalek out there, and you have Casey Thompson in the backfield, and you give him time, like we've said before, Casey doesn't need 7 seconds. He needs 3 seconds to make an incredible play. He's made a lot of his plays on less than that this year. And so if he can do that, I I could see Trey Palmer going out and having maybe not a Purdue level game, but another, just really, really solid, kind of put his name out there game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. That was my next thing is Minnesota's 120th in the nation when it comes to sacks. That doesn't mean they don't get after the quarterback, cause pressures, but they're not good at it. Like their pass rush, as Zach said, is definitely not as talented as ours. And statistically, it's not even as good as ours. So they don't get after a QB. And I think I would say that's been the biggest downfall of this entire season. I think there's 2 wins out there if we protect the quarterback a little bit more. So yeah, it's huge. It's a huge thing to talk about. And then so since we kind of just had the same one, I'll go on to my third one. The QBs, whoever it's going to be, whether it's Chuba, Smothers, or Casey Thompson, the backups have had a full week to prepare. Like they've been getting these reps now, and they're going to come out sharper than they were last week. And the playbook's not going to have to be totally dumbed down to get them because they're just being thrown in. They're not being thrown in this week. I think they both expect to come out. All 3 of them expect to come out and play. So I think it's going to be a lot better. I think the offense is going to be a lot smoother than it was last week. We're just going to have to see how far that takes them. But I like their chances a lot more than I did last week.
Yeah, for me, I'm gonna go. I really feel like Chase Brown is a better back than Mo Ibrahim. I think he is. I think Mo Ibrahim, maybe you could make a term for having a better line uh, up front to block for him. But I think Chase Brown's a better back, and we held him to about 4.5 yards a carry. So I know the defense is capable of doing it. And now that we know how to do it, Bill Bush, you've seen it at halftime before. His adjustments are great, and he takes film and really, really uses it. If he can take film from last week's Illinois game, then use it to try and stop Mo Ibrahim, make this Minnesota team throw the ball, I think we have a really good shot at this game.
Yeah. And then what's your last reason?
Um, this one was a little hard to find. It is hard to find after last week. Reasons, I guess, to be excited. I'm just gonna go with, uh, as you said, whoever this quarterback is that comes out, whether it's Chuba, Smothers, Thompson, they had a full week to prepare. But not only that, they have a full week to prepare under a guy like Mickey Joseph, who has done it before, done it at the highest level. He's a genius, one of the best coaches out there as far as quarterbacks and receivers go, I think. And so whoever's out there is going to be prepared. Is going to be really, really prepared.
Yeah, 100%. So now moving on to the reasons why we should be scared. Big reason for me is Minnesota's a lot like Illinois. They're going to run the ball. They're going to play sound football. They won't make mistakes, and they have a really good defense. As Zach mentioned, they have a top 15 pass defense in the nation, and
Top 10, I believe.
top 10 even. So I think that that's going to cause a lot of problems, especially if it's these backup quarterbacks, because you saw last week. I mean, say what you want about Illinois' defense. They don't have any game wreckers out on defense. They just play sound football. And when you don't make mistakes on defense, that is tough for young quarterbacks like Chuba and Logan to go out there and just have to make plays happen. Casey's done it before. Casey's made plays. He's thrown receivers open. It's a little bit different when you get a quarterback in there that doesn't have the experience that Casey Thompson does. So this is going to be a big, big deal if Casey Thompson can't play, because they need to get the run game going, and people really haven't been able to get the run against Minnesota that they need to. I mean, Minnesota's just a sound defense. They're just a classic Big Ten football team.
Yeah, and not only that, but Tanner Morgan is essentially Tommy DeVito, right? He's had one bad game. That was against Purdue. Tommy DeVito's had one bad game against Indiana. Other than that, he's looking at 70% completion percentage, but he only has 1,200 yards and 7 touchdowns. Like he's not a big game guy. He's going to go out there. He's going to put his team right where they need to be, and he's going to win the game. Last week he threw the ball 21 times and only 122 yards passing. So, and he had a high completion percentage. He's not a guy, and I feel like that kind of hurts us because we're not. I mean, our pass rush, which sure it's been second to none, is not really gonna affect this game at all. And you're gonna have to stop Mo Ibrahim. And if you're gonna make these guys throw, you're gonna have to play sound defense, because even when they do throw, they're very accurate. You're gonna have to not only make them throw, but make them throw the deep ball. I just feel like that's hard to do.
Yeah, no, 100%. So my second one is, it kind of contradicts what you said and your reasons to be excited. Maybe Mo Ibrahim's not as good as Chase Brown, but he's still really good. Mo Ibrahim, he runs powerful. He refuses to be brought down. He breaks tackles like crazy. He leads an offense that's top 15 rush offense in the nation. And he's been there for like I think this might be his 6th year. And he is just big back, going to run you down. He's not going to break out these big time runs, but he's going to get 4 yards a carry, 3 yards a carry, 5 yards a carry, maybe break off a 7-yard carry. He's just going to pound you over and over and over again. A lot like what Illinois tries to do. I think Chase Brown is a little bit better. I think he is a little more explosive, has a little bit more speed, but I think Mo Ibrahim is just as effective as in what Minnesota's trying to do. So if I'll talk about that in my X factors, but yeah, that's my second one is Mo Ibrahim is just really good.
Yeah, and I'll second to that. So Minnesota has the number 12 rushing offense in the country, which I mean, yeah, it scares you. But what scares you even more is when you go ahead and look at the counter of that, and you know that Nebraska has the 115th rushing defense in the country. So we allow 190 yards a game, and they are usually getting about 225 on yards per game. So if we don't, like we said, and we did uh, against Illinois, if we don't find a way to stop Chase Brown, we're going to lose by 21 points. We didn't find a way to stop Chase Brown. We lost by almost 21 points. Against Minnesota, if we don't find a way to stop Mo Ibrahim, we're going to lose by more than that, right? We're going to lose worse than we lost to Illinois because Illinois really doesn't have much outside of Chase Brown. Like, they don't have high level receivers out there that DeVito can just throw to. Minnesota's receivers are actually very solid. There are some very solid receivers out there on the Minnesota team. And I think Minnesota's defense may honestly be better than Illinois' defense, especially if you're putting a young quarterback out there right at the start. Because they have, and I guess I'll just go straight in. This is my third reason here. The number 16 rush defense in the country, the number 6 passing defense in the country, and the number 4 scoring defense in the country. Right. And you can talk about how good Iowa's defense is and everything, but Minnesota's defense is legit. And they put up the numbers, and they have an offense as well. So that helps on against the Hawkeyes a little bit there, I guess. But like, you're not going to come out here and win a shootout. It's not going to be a shootout. You're going to have to win a hard nose, run the ball, put the ball where it needs to be, low mistakes level game to come out and win this game. You can't play a Georgia Southern game here. You can't go try to play a Purdue game. Say it's gonna need to be a win like Rutgers, honestly, is what it's gonna need to be.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You're gonna have to play really hard. It's gonna be gritty and it's gonna suck and it's gonna look. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. Win or lose this game, it's not gonna look. It's not going to look pretty. We're not going to go out and win a pretty game. Minnesota's not going to go out and win a pretty game. And I think everyone knows that. It's going to look really bad on the field. And honestly, I don't care. I don't care that it looks bad on the field. If we come out with a win, I'd rather us come out with a really terrible, hard-nosed win than, we played really well and just barely got beat, right? I mean, I think that's obvious.
Right. Yeah, 100%. So yeah, my last one is Minnesota's pass defense is really good, and Illinois just showed everyone how to game plan against Trey Palmer. Trey Palmer finished with 1 receiving yard. This is a guy that was at one point leading the country in receiving yards, and he had 1 last week against Illinois. Yes, there was a whole half where the quarterback situation was all messed up and Trey Palmer couldn't really get the ball. But even when Casey Thompson was playing, Trey Palmer just wasn't getting open. Like, he was open a few times. Casey missed him on 1. I think Chuba missed him deep on 1, but still, there just wasn't times where he was open. And I think it's a copycat league, and Minnesota's just going to replicate what Illinois did because they know that it's going to work. It's going to work, and it has worked. So nobody's going to let him run one-on-one anymore. So now moving on to our X factors. These proved true last week. I don't remember exactly what our X factors were, but when they were, we talked about it. When they were happening, like when we did what we were talking about in our X factors, we were winning the game. So listen to our X factors because we know what's going on. I'm sure the coaching staff
I
also
believe
these same ones.
I believe they were like slow down Chase Brown, give Casey time,
like the run game, maybe. Run game, I think, was
game.
one of mine. And yeah, Anthony Grant was breaking off some 10, 15, 20-yard runs. So, hey, we know what we're talking about. But the coaches, I mean, I'm sure the coaches also know what we're talking about. So, X factors. My first one is going to be getting to the QB. As we mentioned, Tanner Morgan is Tommy DeVito. I mean, they're like the same guy. They're not going to make mistakes. They're not going to throw the ball downfield, and they're going to be accurate. And Tanner Morgan has shown that when you do get pressure on him, he will make mistakes and he will panic a little bit and he will throw those interceptions. And that's exactly what Nebraska needs. If Nebraska doesn't force mistakes, they're not going to win this game. We saw it with Illinois last week. They had mistakes. We just couldn't capitalize, which is going to be further down the list. I'm going to talk about that more. But yeah, so getting to the QB is my number one. I mean, you got a blitz, you got a nickel blitz, safety blitz. You got to do something to confuse Tanner Morgan out there.
Yeah, my first one is you got to establish the run game here. I don't know why we haven't done it yet. I don't know if it's just like Mark Whipple has never had this in his offense before, or I don't know. But you see it all the time. Teams that have really, really good skill positions, but kind of suffer at the offensive line, which is where we are, run the option and they run RPOs because you don't really need, I mean, for like a read option, you really don't need the O line to do that much. For a speed option, you really don't need the O line to do that much. You know what I mean? For an RPO, same thing. You really don't need them. And so I feel like you got to establish the run game with Anthony Grant here, who only got 12 attempts on the ground against Illinois. That number has got to go up. I mean, I'm not going to say that's unacceptable, but you got to get that guy the ball, and you got to get more people the ball. You got to get you in there. You got to get Gabe Irvin in there, right? You got to get all your backs the ball. And even more than that, I think you got to get Smellers in there and run the option. I think you can even get Trevor Purdy in there and run the option if Thompson's playing. If Thompson's not playing, if you're running the option, put Smothers in. But the option is, I feel like it's a savior for us, and I don't know why we haven't brought it out yet. It may just be that Whipple hasn't had it in his offense from a pass heavy offense at Pitt, but I just feel like you got to put that in there.
Yeah, and I agree with that completely. So then my second one is you have to capitalize on good field position. We were given good field position against Illinois, whether it be with a turnover. I know one of their receivers tried to make a juke and somehow fumbled the ball. That's good field position. We just didn't do anything with it. And then like whether it be like a big play, we were in good field position, nothing came out of it. It's got to be better. You have to capitalize on good field position in the Big Ten, because if you're given good field position, that means something happened that wasn't supposed to happen, because these Big Ten games are going to come down to just running the ball, getting first downs. If you don't get a first down, pin them deep, and you just go back and forth. It's not going to be some pass heavy, get in the red zone every single drive. It's just not going to happen. So when you do get in the red zone, you need to capitalize either a field goal or a touchdown, but you need to score points. So capitalizing on good field position is the second one.
And not only that, I guess this will be my second X factor here, but you got a Buschini, and he did a great job last week. I don't want this to come off as Buschini hasn't been doing good enough, because he's done way better than what we had last year. He played injured and still did better than what we had last year. And now that he's healthy, he looks like, I wouldn't say an elite level punter, but a good punter. He's not an average punter. He's a good, or even hitting that great level punter. He has got to pin him deep, right?
Mm-hmm.
A team like Minnesota that's going to run the ball with Mo Ibrahim. A team, if you're a team that runs the ball and you got to drive 80 yards, that's hard. That's really hard on that running back. And if you make Mo Ibrahim drive 80 yards all game long, he's not going to do it. His legs are going to go. I don't care how wet toilet paper our freaking defense is. It doesn't matter to me. A running back can't do it. A college back cannot continue to do that. And I don't think Minnesota's O line is, the next best O line either. So I think you got to pin them deep here, and you got to play hard nosed defense early on, and you gotta make them drive the field.
Yeah, 100%. So that kind of ties into my next one or my last one. You gotta jump out. Nebraska has to jump out to an early lead, or even like keep it close, because if Minnesota gets a 2-score lead, Nebraska's chances are near zero, because this is what Minnesota is built for. If they're up 14, let's say, or even 10, let's say they're up 10, they're going to run the ball. They're going to run 8 minutes off the clock in one drive. They're going to kick a field goal, go up by either 2 scores, 3 scores, whatever it matters. They're not going to throw their way back into this game. So if Nebraska jumps out, let's say, get the ball, scores a touchdown, stops Minnesota, gets the ball, scores a touchdown, I feel so good about Nebraska's chances, because if you're forcing Tanner Morgan to throw Minnesota back into this game, that is not something Minnesota is built to do. Minnesota is really good at what they do. That is not what they do. They run the ball, they hold leads, and then they keep games close, win or lose. Any game they play in is going to be close. They're not going to throw their way back, as I just said. So if you force them to try to throw it back, they're going to make mistakes. And Tanner Morgan's going to throw picks, and he's going to fumble the ball. And that's when you really can dial up those creative blitzes and, even back off the coverage a little bit, just because they have to throw. So if you force them to throw, Nebraska's going to have a good shot to win this game.
Yeah, and here's my third one. So here's the reason I think Trey Palmer had one reception for 1 yard. Illinois realized, oh my God, they don't throw to anyone else. Like they don't. We didn't. We really didn't. And so for this game, I mean, Trey Palmer, first of all, has got to break through and get open. It's got to happen. If Trey Palmer can't get open, it's not going to look good. But to counter that, you got to get the ball to other people. We now understand that Alante Brown is a very valuable receiver out here. Travis Vokalek is a very valuable target out here. Marcus Washington is proven time and time again. He is a valuable target as well. And don't count Anthony Grant out of the backfield out of it as well to catch a couple balls.
Ramir Johnson can catch some balls.
Ramir Johnson
Hopefully.
to catch a couple balls. Yeah. So you got to kind of spread the ball around. You can't just give it to Grant and Palmer, because in the Big Ten that doesn't work. You got to spread the ball out, and you got to give it to a lot of people, because the defenses, like you said, are a copycat league, and Illinois just provided exactly how to do it. And so we got to counter that and be like, okay, we're going to throw to Alante Brown. We're going to throw to Vokalek. We're going to throw to Ramir, Marcus Washington, Trey Palmer's beat, right? Because they don't see it coming. We got to make those surprise plays happen.
Yeah, no, definitely. So getting into our score predictions, do you have a score prediction? Here, you can think about it.
I
Let me.
have two of them. I do.
Okay,
I have
so
two
do
of
I.
them.
So do I. I also do have two of them. So my first one, if Casey doesn't play, I think 28-14 loss to Minnesota. Is that what yours is? Are you splitting it up between if Casey doesn't play and Casey does play? Okay, so you do yours if Casey doesn't play.
Yeah, so if Casey doesn't play, I don't feel like Minnesota's score is going to change on if Casey plays or not, because he isn't playing on the defensive side of the ball. And maybe it could with like momentum, whatever. But
Right.
I'm gonna say like 21-10. I just don't see us really getting the offense going. And that's, again, not a shot at Chuba, not a shot at Smothers. I just feel like Casey's maybe more experienced. Those guys are a little young, and that's going if we don't get the option. If Casey, okay, so I have three. If Casey doesn't play and we do get the option going, I think we can win this game like 14-10 or 14-13 or something crazy like that. Because the reason I changed Minnesota's score so low there is because if we are running the option heavily, then we are also taking so much time out of the clock, taking so much out of their defense, and keeping their offense off the field. So it'd be a run heavy game. It's going to be a low scoring game if you do that. So 21-10 if Casey doesn't play and we don't run the option. 14-10 us if Casey doesn't play and we do run the option. And then
Yeah. If Casey does play, I got a 31-27 loss for Nebraska. I think if Casey does play, it's going to be a lot more back and forth because I do think the offense can get going, get some scoring plays. Minnesota maybe has to run a little play action and maybe they beat, because I don't think our defense is going to fare well against Minnesota. I think Mo Abraham's going to have over 100 yards, and I think Tanner Morgan's going to have a good day as well. But I do think Casey Thompson can exploit this Minnesota defense a little bit better than these backup quarterbacks. So yeah, realistically, I don't see Nebraska winning this game. I do see it being really, really close if Casey Thompson plays, which is why I went 31-27.
Yeah, I think you're crazy. If Casey does play, we're winning this game. Comeback game. No other quarterback's going to come off a nerve injury and is throwing arm and play the next week. No other quarterback, right? So if Casey does play, he's the next coming of Jesus. I mean, he really is here in the football world. Toughest quarterback I have ever seen. Nobody takes hits, gets back up, and then on the weekend takes his guys out to dinner that just murdered him, that got him murdered the week before, right? Great guy, great quarterback. This is Casey's prove it, show out game. I am the guy. 28-24 Nebraska. If Casey plays, I think Grant gets the ball going. I think Alante Brown gets the ball going. I think Trey Palmer, in better or worse terms, nuts up and takes Mickey Joseph's advice and plays some freaking Big Ten football. These guys are going to hold you, as Mickey says. They're gonna grab you. You're the fastest guy on the field. You're the fastest guy in the Big Ten. This isn't the SEC. They're not throwing the ball enough for pass interference calls. When they are throwing the ball, you gotta let the kids play. And so I think Trey Palmer nuts up and fights through that coverage and gets the ball a whole lot more. And I think we come out on top.
Hey, I hope you're right. And I really hope Casey Thompson plays because I think this offense looks a whole lot different whether he's playing or not. But that's all
But
we
if he
have.
doesn't,
Oh,
but if he doesn't, it'd look a whole lot different if we just ran the dang
there you
option.
go. There you go. Put in Smothers for some Wildcat opportunities. Yeah, but that's all we got
Smothers can be the next Adrian Martinez. Smothers can play Adrian Martinez K-State version. He can. He can do it. Martinez doesn't throw the ball. Smothers doesn't need to throw the ball.
Actually, Martinez hasn't thrown an interception all year, so he's been pretty good actually.
It's hard to throw an interception when you don't throw the ball.
Hey, say what you want. Say what you want. He's been good.
Yeah, I know, and I think Smothers can do it too.
We'll see. We'll see. I hope so. I hope so, man. But yeah, that's all we got for this week. Remember to comment down below your final score prediction for a chance to be shouted out in next week's episode. Kind of dropped the ball on that last Tuesday. Forgot to do that, but promise if you get close, if you get it exactly right, we'll post you and we'll do it good. But yeah, huge spread as well. I think it's a 14.5 point spread right now for Minnesota, which I get, especially if Casey Thompson doesn't play. I mean, you can definitely see a scenario where that happens. So not incredibly mad at it. I think it's a little disrespectful, but gotta do what you gotta do. But yeah,
Hey,
so
they don't want us to wake up, man. They don't want us to wake up.
Boom. Don't want us to wake up. That's exactly what I was going to say. So yeah, that's all we got for this week. Zach, you got anything else to say?
That's it.
Go Big Red.